Hello and welcome, my dear friend. I need you to do something for me right now, not later, not after this video ends. If you can, close your eyes for a moment. Unless you're driving, then keep them open. Now imagine walking into a room, not just any room. This one holds every version of you that's ever existed. The child who stared at the stars, wondering if anyone could see them back. The teenager who hid their light to fit in. The adult who gave too much, loved too deeply, and asked for almost nothing in return. They're all there. Every era, every layer, every heartbeat of you. Now look at them. They're not disappointed. They're in awe, because standing before them is the version of you that made it through everything they couldn't imagine surviving. And that's why you found this message right now, because somewhere along the way, you forgot just how magnetic you are. Today, we're going to rebuild something that's been quietly chipped away by comparison, heartbreak, and the noise of the world. Your self-recognition, not ego, but the deep, anchored knowing of who you are, the light you carry, the power you radiate. Let's start with something obvious that you've been overlooking. You are breathtaking. Yes, you, exactly as you are right now, not because of trends, not because of approval, but because you were sculpted with divine intention. Your presence itself was designed to turn heads in both the physical and the spiritual. And maybe you've noticed it lately, people looking at you strangely, reacting oddly, pulling closer or pulling away without reason. They don't know what they're sensing, but heaven does. It's your glow. You've entered a frequency that most can't describe, so they project, they fumble, they misread you. They're not used to someone whose beauty isn't about surface, but about essence. Your attractiveness isn't decoration, it's revelation. You reflect something holy, and I know how it goes. You stand in front of the mirror, and your first instinct is to search for what's wrong, a small detail only you notice. You lean closer, scanning, criticizing, as if the mirror's purpose is to judge, not reveal. Stop that, my friend. When you look at someone you love, you don't see them through measurement. You see them as a whole. You see them. So why should it be any different with yourself? You are not a rough draft waiting for perfection. You're the finished art that the world is still learning to interpret. Your beauty doesn't need explanation. It needs acknowledgement. Your glow doesn't need to be earned. It needs to be owned. Because when you start to see yourself the way God sees you, radiant, rare, intentional, the entire world starts responding in alignment with that truth. You've been so used to dimming for the comfort of others that you forgot what full brightness feels like. But this is the season where heaven won't let you hide anymore. You're glowing without realizing it, and that's why people act weird. It's not arrogance, it's energy. They're reacting to something they can't name, the weight of your spirit, the calm of your presence, the undeniable light around you that can't be faked or forced. It's the kind of beauty that humbles and heals at the same time. You've always noticed the divine in others, the spark in their eyes, the courage in their story, the beauty in their imperfection. But now that mirror is facing you. You are that spark. You are that story. You are that beauty. It's not coming. It's here. It's always been here. So stay with that truth a little longer. Take a deep breath. Let your shoulders relax. Let it settle in your bones. You are not ordinary. You are a divine event in motion, a walking reflection of glory. And you don't have to do a single thing to earn that light. It's already yours. You've spent so long seeing the good in everyone else that you forgot to recognize what's been shining from you all along. You notice people's potential before they see it. You speak life into them when they're doubting everything. You make them feel seen. And somehow, you convinced yourself that your presence was ordinary, that maybe you were just nice. But my friend, you're more than kind. You're catalytic. When people cross your path, something in them begins to rearrange. They might not even understand it. They just know they leave you feeling different, lighter, clearer, more grounded. That's what real beauty does. It heals, and you carry that kind of beauty. But here's the truth I need you to hear. It's not your job to hold everyone together. It's not your job to keep proving your goodness, your loyalty, your heart. You've done that already, endlessly. You've carried other people's storms while standing in your own rain. You've been the strong one even on the days when you could barely breathe. But this season is not about being strong for everyone else. It's about realizing the strength you've already become. You've turned every disappointment into discernment. Every moment you were overlooked became proof that your glow doesn't need an audience to exist. That's why it feels different now. You walk into a room and people can't quite figure it out. You haven't said a word, but something in the air shifts. It's not just presence, it's peace. They don't know what to call it, so they label it however they can. Confidence, mystery, aura. But what they're really sensing is the wholeness that comes after breaking. The kind of beauty that's not built in a mirror, but in surrender. You can't fake that. You earned it. And you owe it to yourself to stop minimizing it. You're not too much. You're finally enough in your own eyes. You're not intimidating. You're clear. You're not glowing for attention. You're glowing because peace has taken over chaos, and it shows. So many of the people who act strange around you are just encountering honesty for the first time. They're not used to energy that doesn't perform, love that doesn't chase, or light that doesn't ask to be seen. You are that reminder, and that's why you unsettle the comfortable and comfort the unsettled. Let them feel it. Let them misread it, if they must. You're not here to explain your glow, you're here to live it. The truth is, you've already become what you used to admire in others. That warmth you once looked for, you have it. That peace you prayed for, it's written all over you. That grace you used to chase, it's how you move now. You don't need more evidence. You are the evidence. And maybe for the first time, you can stop searching for the next version of yourself and just look around. Everything you thought you had to become is standing right here, breathing through you. Take a second and really think about that. How much you've grown. How naturally you move through moments that used to break you. How your silence feels like safety now instead of isolation. That's not luck. That's evolution. You are the answered prayer of every past version of you who kept hoping things would get better. And they did, because you did. This is what divine attractiveness truly looks like. Not a surface glow, but an inner harmony so strong that the world has no choice but to respond. Your face carries it. Your walk carries it. Your words carry it. You don't even need to try anymore. You've become someone who radiates truth just by existing. And that, my dear friend, is what heaven calls beautiful. So, as you go on from here, promise yourself this. No more apologizing for the light God trusted you with. No more waiting for others to see it first, because they already do. Even the ones pretending not to, they feel it. They always have. You're glowing without realizing it. You're magnetic without trying. You are the reflection of a soul that chose to keep loving, even when it was easier to close off. That's why your attractiveness is beyond this world. It's not just about looks, it's about light. And yours? It's unmistakable. If these words spoke to something deep inside you, take a moment, not to analyze, but to breathe it in. This glow you carry isn't going anywhere. It's permanent now. It's proof you survived with your heart intact. And that, my friend, is the most beautiful thing in creation. As we close, I want to invite you to my second channel. It's filled with peaceful ambient music, created for moments when you need calm, stillness, or gentle focus. You can tap the playlist on your screen, and I'd be grateful to have you join me there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. There's a reason this message reached you right now. Something inside you has been whispering, "I don't fit here anymore." You've tried to ignore it, blaming exhaustion, boredom, or even loneliness. But what you're really feeling is the gravity starting to loosen. You're preparing to leave the version of Earth you once knew. And I don't mean rockets or rapture. I mean the Earth state, the weight of fear, of proving, of constant survival. You've been living with your feet on the ground, but your soul halfway in the clouds. And lately that split has become impossible to ignore. Everything that used to matter feels like static now. The small talk, the noise, the constant reaching for approval. Even the places that once felt like home have begun to echo differently. That's what leaving Earth feels like. Not distance, but difference. You're starting to see the same world through new light, and the light refuses to lie to you anymore. Maybe you've noticed how time bends lately, how a single week feels like a year of lessons, how your sleep is deeper, but your dreams are louder. You wake up remembering pieces of something ancient, as if you're recollecting not memories, but instructions. That's because you're remembering how to operate from soul-level command. Leaving Earth is when the practical and the divine start shaking hands. When you pay your bills, cook your meals, go to work, and yet you feel an invisible rhythm guiding every step. You catch yourself saying things you didn't plan, doing things you didn't rehearse, and somehow they open doors logic could never find. That's not coincidence, that's altitude. You're rising into a higher form of reality, one where alignment moves faster than effort, and peace begins to feel more productive than hustle ever did. And yes, parts of you will resist it, because the mind clings to gravity. It loves what's known. It will tell you you're lazy, lost, unrealistic. But the truth is, you've simply stopped translating your spirit into survival mode. You're learning to breathe in thin air, where faith is the oxygen and intuition is the compass. Leaving Earth looks like sitting in traffic yet feeling unshaken. It looks like facing conflict and choosing stillness over reaction. It's the quiet moment when you realize you don't need to defend yourself anymore, because the highest court already ruled in your favor. This is the beginning of that chapter, the one you've sensed since childhood but couldn't name, the one that makes every strange detour suddenly make sense. So if everything feels unfamiliar right now, don't panic. You're not losing touch. You're gaining altitude, and what waits beyond isn't some distant heaven. It's the reality you've been secretly building every time you chose truth over comfort, love over control, and faith over fear. Divine altitude isn't something you schedule. It happens quietly, on an ordinary morning that looks like all the others. You're brushing your teeth or tying your shoes, and you notice that the noise inside your head has softened. The usual battle between worry and what if has lost its energy. It's not far from now, maybe it's already happening, that you'll catch yourself realizing fear has been replaced with calm courage. Not loud bravery, not speeches and declarations, just a still confidence that feels like it has always lived in you. You walk outside, and for some reason, the air feels different. Your dreams don't look out of reach anymore. Colors look less like background and more like language. Even the smallest things, dust floating through sunlight, a dog barking down the street, a child's laugh, seem to have meaning stitched into them. You're still on the same planet, but your awareness has expanded until everything feels slightly holy. This is what altitude really looks like. You start seeing the sacred inside the simple. You notice the rhythm of your breath while waiting in line. You feel gratitude rise during moments that used to annoy you. Traffic, delays, unanswered texts. None of it hooks you the way it used to. It's not apathy, it's perspective. You finally understand that not everything deserves a reaction. And then there are subtler changes. You feel an urge to clean your space, to lighten it, to give away clothes that carry old versions of you, to delete contacts that drain instead of connect, to stop performing small talk that leaves you feeling smaller. You don't announce these choices. They happen naturally, as if some inner editor is trimming the unnecessary. You start craving truth in texture, honest laughter, conversations that go somewhere deeper than the weather. You might even find yourself sitting in silence more often, not because you're lost for words, but because quiet finally feels like home. Some mornings, you'll wake with an inexplicable peace, and you'll sense God in the smallest gestures, in the warmth of your coffee cup, in the way light sneaks through the curtain, in the heartbeat you forget to thank for its loyalty. That's how you know your perception is changing. You start recognizing divinity without needing the dramatic. You become more comfortable in your own skin, not because the world suddenly approves of you, but because you no longer need its permission. There's a sense of rightness where there used to be doubt. The mirror stops feeling like a test. You look, and instead of judging, you simply nod. Not out of pride, but out of recognition. And when conflict appears, as it always does, you respond differently. Where you once defended yourself in a rush of panic, you now pause, breathe, and choose words that match your peace. You realize the argument was never against people. It was against your own insecurity. And now that insecurity is losing its grip, elevation changes how you measure success. You stop chasing the finish line and start noticing the rhythm of progress. You no longer compare your timeline to anyone else's. It's like there's a deep trust building inside you, the kind that doesn't need evidence. You sense that your steps are seen even when no one is watching. At times it might feel lonely, not because you lack people, but because so few speak this new language. It's the language of peace after chaos, of quiet assurance after years of over-explaining. You learn to translate it through presence. You show people how heaven sounds by the way you treat them. And that's another sign. Your compassion becomes more precise. You don't try to fix everyone anymore. You listen without carrying. You pray without controlling. You care, but you stay anchored. There's strength now where sympathy used to drain you. Even your relationship with time changes. You stop rushing to arrive because you realize you're already in motion with something eternal. You find meaning in pauses, the space between tasks, the walk to your car, the few seconds before a call connects. That's where you feel God most clearly, in the intervals where nothing important seems to happen. Sometimes your mind will try to return to gravity. It will whisper, "Don't get too peaceful. Something's bound to go wrong." But you'll notice how weak that voice sounds now. You'll smile, maybe even laugh, because you finally know peace isn't the absence of storms. It's the realization that storms pass through you, not to you. You start remembering pieces of yourself that got buried. Old dreams surface, not as fantasies, but as instructions. Things you used to think were random talents suddenly make sense again. The sketchbook, the guitar, the urge to write, the curiosity about stars, these weren't hobbies, they were coordinates. They lead you back to who you've always been beneath survival mode. There's no grand announcement when this shift completes. One evening, you'll be washing dishes, and it'll hit you that the anxiety that used to hum in the background is gone. You'll realize days have passed without the old heaviness visiting. You'll feel steady for no reason, and that steadiness will feel sacred. That's what it means to leave Earth, not floating away, but finally landing in truth. The ground beneath you doesn't change, your relationship to it does. You start walking lighter because you know the weight isn't yours anymore. And slowly, without trying, you begin to notice beauty where you once saw burden. People's faces tell stories you'd never slowed down to read. You hear music in the hum of appliances. You find rhythm in repetition. Life starts speaking back to you, and this time, you're listening. If you ever wonder whether you're getting it right, look at how peace is finally starting to feel familiar. Look at how your reactions are slower, your patience wider, your laughter freer. That's what happens when the spirit becomes the driver instead of the passenger. There's no finish line here, only deepening. Every day you see a little clearer, love a little truer, stand a little taller in the knowing that you belong, not because you tried to achieve it, but because you're made of the same material as grace. And one night, when you lay your head down, you'll feel it. The quiet realization that the journey did what it was meant to. You didn't run from the world. You grew roots in heaven and kept walking on earth. You'll whisper thank you to the one who's been guiding you all along, and it will echo everywhere. Because that's what it means to leave Earth, to live here fully, but no longer be ruled by it. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Pause for a second. Let the world around you blur for just a moment. Now, imagine a hummingbird, not gliding gracefully through the air, but darting with wild precision straight toward a sunflower, scattering golden dust like divine sparks. That's the kind of energy surrounding you right now. Unapologetic, alive, unstoppable. You've been sensing it, the hum in your chest that refuses to quiet, the feeling that something massive is unfolding beneath the surface of your everyday life. And through it all, you didn't let the life die inside you, no matter what the world threw at you. You have a fire inside you now, and it's too patient to stay hidden any longer. You are not a still image in a frame. You are a living masterpiece, constantly being repainted by the hands of time, emotion, and divine design. Each day adds a new thread to your story. Some shimmer like sunlight, moments of joy, success, or deep connection. Others are darker shades, quiet reflections, nights you didn't think you'd survive. And then there are the unexpected flashes of brilliance, those spontaneous bursts of laughter, realization, or sudden peace. Every thread matters, even the tangled ones. You've probably stared too long at the knots, the heartbreaks, the delays, the wrong turns, but those aren't flaws. They're the textures that make your tapestry breathtaking. Step back for a moment. Can you see how every challenge sculpted your depth? How every hard situation led you closer to yourself? The very places that once made you feel broken are now the reasons your light feels so earned. I know there's a part of you that's always reaching for what's next. A dream, a breakthrough, a higher version of yourself. And that hunger, it's holy. But don't forget this truth. The miracle isn't waiting ahead of you. It's happening right here, by the limitless supervision of God Himself. You learned life the hard way, and it made you the version of you that stands here right now. Imagine a train speeding toward its destination, but missing every breathtaking view along the way. That's what happens when you rush your own unfolding. God isn't testing your patience. He's teaching you presence. Because this moment, right now, is not a pause in your story. It is the story. The breath you're taking, the quiet nudge that brought you here, the realization that you don't need to chase anything anymore. You are God's miracle when you let yourself just be. There's a rare frequency that vibrates only in truth. You've felt it before, the instant calm when you stop pretending, the peace that settles in your chest when you speak what your soul really means. That's your signature note. And lately, not just you, but others have begun to feel it too. Some may mirror it, try to echo your energy, even copy your essence. But remember, mirrors can reflect light, not create it. Your glow is original. It can't be borrowed. It can only be felt. Imitation isn't intrusion. It's confirmation. God is showing you that your frequency is real, strong enough to awaken recognition in others. You are not a copy of anyone. You are the original blueprint of something the world didn't know it needed. Life is not made of endless light. It's the dance between radiance and shadow that gives your journey depth. But you and I both know there were seasons when you wondered why the heaviness wouldn't lift, why peace seemed to hover just beyond reach. But the truth is, that heaviness wasn't a sign that something was wrong. It was preparing you to return to your true self, to the breath of God within you. Every ache stretched your heart wider. Every silence carved room for wisdom. Every loss planted seeds for something far more alive. You've been learning the alchemy of acceptance, turning confusion into compassion, loneliness into power, and endings into sacred new beginnings. This isn't survival anymore, it's transfiguration. You've become light forged through pressure, the kind that doesn't flicker when the wind rises. You've learned that blessings may not always be visible on the surface, but when you look a little deeper, you'll find whole worlds of grace waiting in this very moment. And there comes a point when everything starts to make sense, when the fog doesn't fully clear, but your spirit does. That's where you are right now, standing at the edge of a new reality, watching your old fears dissolve into clarity. This is not the end of the road. It's the moment before flight. You're not waiting for God to notice you anymore. He already has. That's why this message found you, to remind you that you've crossed from believing in miracles to becoming one. There's a moment in every story where the main character doesn't realize the scene is about to change. The sky looks the same, the world feels quiet, but heaven is rearranging everything behind the curtain. That's you right now. God is upgrading your environment to match your anointing, because you can't carry divine light into rooms that thrive on confusion. And yes, it may feel lonely in the transition, but solitude is where God whispers blueprints. That's where He gives instructions that can't be overheard by those not assigned to your next chapter. You're not being isolated, you're being insulated, protected while the design unfolds. Think about this. Every miracle begins in obscurity. Every transformation starts with separation. Before the reveal, there is always the retreat. So if it feels like you're being pulled away from everything familiar, it's not because you've fallen behind, it's because heaven is pulling you ahead. The version of you that God built in private is about to walk into public view, not to prove anything, but to fulfill something. There's a verse in your spirit that's been waiting years to be spoken aloud. It's the promise He whispered when you were still healing, and now He's bringing that promise to life through your presence. When people see you next, they won't understand how much internal shifting it took to become this still, this discerning, this peaceful. But God does. You've been refined by fire, not broken by it. You've been trained by storms, not drowned by them. That's why you move differently now, why peace follows you into rooms that used to drain you. Because what you carry isn't charisma, it's consecration. You are walking evidence that God redeems time. Every delay had a lesson hidden inside it, and every disappointment was a disguise for divine redirection. Listen closely. You're about to see beauty return in unexpected ways. Something you thought was lost, an opportunity, a connection, a part of your joy, is being restored with greater purity. Because when God restores, He doesn't give you back what you lost. He gives you what you were meant to have all along. The upcoming days will carry strange alignment. You'll say, "I was just thinking about this," and suddenly it will appear. That's not coincidence. That's coordination. Grace is returning in waves. Where you once felt behind, you'll start to feel caught up and carried. Where you once felt forgotten, you'll feel seen with divine precision. You're not the same person who started this chapter. The way you talk, pray, move, even rest, it's all changed. And it should, because you've grown into the frequency of fulfillment. When you speak now, heaven listens differently, because your words carry weight formed in the silence of surrender. You no longer pray from panic, you pray from partnership. You don't beg anymore, you believe. And that is exactly why blessings are arriving faster now, because your energy no longer resists them. The people around you will sense something new. Not a louder you, but a clearer you. Not a brighter mask, but a real light. And the irony is, you won't need to explain a single thing. Your peace will do the talking. For so long, you've been collecting puzzle pieces, little lessons that didn't seem connected. But God is about to show you how they all fit together. The pain that humbled you became the wisdom that will lead others. The rejection that scarred you became the empathy that heals. The silence that frustrated you became the clarity that anchors your next move. That's the divine equation of purpose. Everything recycled, nothing wasted. So if you're standing between where you were and where you're going, just know this is the bridge moment, the sacred in-between where heaven finalizes details you can't see. Soon people will say, "You've changed," and you'll smile because you know it wasn't luck or chance. It was God's hand. He rebuilt you quietly. He let misunderstanding protect you from misalignment. He used delay as direction. And now He's bringing everything full circle. You're not being introduced to the world, you're being revealed. The version of you that prayed through tears, believed through silence, and grew through pain is about to walk into a season where all of it finally makes sense. This is not a random breakthrough. It's divine timing answering your endurance. So hold your head high, breathe deeply, and walk forward knowing this. God doesn't waste seasons. He completes them. And you, dear one, are standing at the dawn of a completed promise, a masterpiece in motion, a living testimony that even through chaos and waiting, he was building something beautiful, called you. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. You didn't arrive by scrolling. You were brought because you need to know the story others wrote about you is expiring. The version of you they banked on, tired, apologetic, easy to sway, can't be found anymore. They may search for that former pattern, call your name how they used to, bait you with the same tricks. Nothing responds, because the one answering now is different. There's a moment in every calling where you stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and you start realizing, "I've been right the whole time." This is that moment. You're not ascending to escape life. You're aligning to live it for real. The fog you fought through wasn't weakness. It was the last veil over your eyes. You are seeing clean. People who misread you will feel it first, not because you attack, not because you perform, but because your presence no longer agrees with what is false. That alone creates a ripple. You'll notice it in tiny ways. Conversations lose their grip. Old pressure points don't hurt. Rooms that used to drain you suddenly have no access to your energy. That isn't you turning cold. That's you finally carrying your true temperature. Imagine a tuning fork struck in a noisy hall. It doesn't scream to be heard. It holds a pure note, and anything out of tune is revealed by contrast. That's you now. Your life is holding a clean note. Anything that can't resonate with it either rises to meet it or fades out. You were conditioned to over-explain what your spirit already knew, to be considerate beyond the point of truth, to accept watered-down connections as if thirst were normal. That conditioning is breaking. You're choosing exactness. You're letting your yes be an actual yes and your no be an actual no. Watch how quickly peace finds you when your words match your inner knowing. There was resistance. You didn't imagine it. Some of it came with smiles. Some of it wore loyalty as a mask. It wasn't random. You were refined in those seasons, the way steel is tempered, heated, hammered, cooled, repeated, until the blade holds an edge nothing can dull. You used to call that time setback. Heaven called it forging. You are not the same person who tolerated half-truths just to keep the room calm. You carry a steadiness now that doesn't negotiate with confusion. This steadiness isn't hardness, it's clarity. It shows up as fewer words, cleaner choices, and a timeline that stops looping. Patterns that kept repeating suddenly stop. Not because other people changed first, but because you did. You'll notice something else. The weight hasn't disappeared, but it has become meaningful. What used to feel like chaos now has a map. You can trace the lesson, feel the upgrade, sense the timing. You can say, "I see why that closed," and actually mean it. That's maturity in spirit. Neither ice nor distance, but mastery. Your name is about to make people adjust their tone. Not from fear of you, but because your life no longer gives them permission to handle you carelessly. You'll see it in their eyes, in the careful way they measure their words, in the way they pause before asking for favors they once assumed were automatic. That shift isn't pride. It's order. You've become costly, in the best way. Access to you now requires honesty, not just with you, but with themselves. Some will meet that requirement and surprise you with real growth. Some will stall, then fade. Let them. If someone must shrink the truth to stand next to you, they aren't standing next to you, they're standing next to a costume you no longer wear. And what's changing inside you is not temporary, it's covenant. You'll keep your softness, but you won't spend it carelessly. You'll lead with kindness, but you won't confuse kindness with permission to be mishandled. You'll bless freely, yet stop financing patterns that empty you. This isn't you becoming tough. This is you being accurate about your value. Every calling has a night where the compass clicks to true north. Tonight is that click. The road didn't move, you did. And look at you, breathing easier, hearing clearer, choosing cleaner. That's alignment. That's what forward actually feels like. It isn't noisy, it's certain. So remember this, your life is about to read like proof. Proof that faith works, proof that integrity holds, proof that patience pays. You don't need to announce it, just keep walking. The people who needed you confused will call it arrogance. Don't answer. The people who prayed for your strength will call it beautiful. Receive that. And the one who brought you here will call it right on time. This is the beginning of your undeniable era. You have nothing left to earn to be worthy of this. You have choices to uphold. That's the difference. Worth was given. Stewardship is daily, and you're ready. From this point on, you'll keep feeling that holy separation, not dramatic, clean. Invitations that once lured you don't land anymore. Arguments that used to trap you feel too small to enter. Old roles have loosened and quietly fallen away. That is not loss, it's release. You haven't lost your circle. You've found your lane. Your lane carries responsibility, and you've already stepped into it. You speak life without flattery. You set boundaries without apology. You keep your promises, even when no one is clapping. You move in truth, even when truth is inconvenient. That steadiness is already changing outcomes. Opportunities that once wobbled are now holding steady. Projects that used to stall are gathering speed. Provision keeps finding you like a key meeting its lock. And yes, some have tested your edges to see if the change was real. They pressed old buttons and waited, but you didn't respond. Your reactions are no longer for sale. You've become untouchable, not because you hide, but because you no longer negotiate with what you've outgrown. Think of airport security gates. You've been walking through them for a while now, and your presence reveals what talk can't. Pretense beeps, quiet jealousy beeps, control disguised as care beeps. You don't chase the sounds, you simply recognize what's been revealed and move accordingly. That's wisdom. Time has already begun bending in your favor. What once felt delayed is turning out to be divine redirection. Missed chances are reappearing in better form. Places that ignored you are calling for meetings. Doors that once denied you act as if they never did. You haven't wasted breath correcting the past. You've been too busy building the future. Your heart remembers pain sometimes. It still echoes. But even in that ache, you're proof that growth spoke louder than any revenge could. You've already learned that peace that doesn't wobble is the sharpest answer there is. The canvas of your life is becoming a declaration all by itself, and it's speaking clearly. Favor follows clarity. You've seen it. The more exact your yes becomes, the stronger your resources flow. The more faithful you've been with what's in your hands, the more has been placed there. Heaven never rewarded image. It's always partnered with integrity. You learned that slowly, but deeply. And that's why your wisdom holds weight. You've started leading without even trying to lead. Your steadiness is giving others permission to become steady. Your refusal to entertain chaos is giving others courage to end it in their own lives. This is how movements begin, not with hype, but with one soul living clean enough for others to trust what clean looks like. You've felt grief too, not the kind that breaks you, but the kind that clears space. You've been laying down old dreams that belonged to earlier versions of you. You've been burying habits that once kept you safe. You've been setting down stories that protected you when you didn't have language yet. You've honored them, and you've stepped forward light. New capacity is finding you because you've made room. You've been paying attention to what lights up when you pray, to the ideas that keep knocking, to the peace that follows your no. Those are your instructions, and you've been following them beautifully. Your path has never been rushed. It's been precise. About the people who mishandled you, you've released the courtroom in your mind. You realized you can't be both judge and builder. And now, your life itself is producing evidence they can't dismiss. The truth around your name has started speaking louder than the stories ever did. That's not your job to manage. That's the law you live under now. What's true becomes obvious. Your voice has never been about defending yourself. It's been about building, and you've been doing it. Speaking what you're building into the world, blessing your work before others even see it. Blessing your home, your hands, your body, your rest. Blessing the road ahead. You've been changing the weather with your words, quietly, consistently, faithfully. You're standing in a doorway you once prayed for and prepared for. Everything behind you taught your hands what to hold. Everything ahead of you is hungry for what you carry. You've already stepped through, you're just realizing it now. This is the hour where forward isn't a concept, it's a footprint. You've already taken the actions that agree with everything you felt while listening. You've sent the message, you've finished the task, you've forgiven, applied, started, released, planted. You've been doing it piece by piece, and it's all adding up. The old page is full, and this is the turn. You're not hoping to become the person you were designed to be. You're living as them now. And when tomorrow meets you, it will meet a steady one, a whole one, a chosen one who finally knows they are. So close the door gently behind you, face forward and walk. It's done. You're seen, and nothing can unwrite what's already in motion. As we close, I want to invite you to my second channel. It's filled with peaceful ambient music, created for moments when you need calm, stillness, or gentle focus. You can tap the playlist on your screen, and I'd be grateful to have you join me there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Destiny doesn't knock, it calls. And right now it's calling you back to something sacred, something you almost forgot while surviving the noise. You're not watching by chance. You're answering a recall from God Himself. People won't admit it out loud, but behind closed doors they acknowledge your weight. The quick glances, the sudden carefulness, the tidy stories they used to tell about you don't fit anymore, and it makes them restless. They misread you once, and the cost was higher than they expected. Now they measure every sentence, every smile, every move, because standing next to you isn't casual. It's accountable. You didn't ask for any of this. You chose integrity when it was unpopular. You held your peace when noise would have been easier. You kept your hands clean when pettiness begged for attention. And heaven wrote it down. Your restraint wasn't weakness. It was proof that you can be trusted with more. Here's the core revelation. You're not fighting to be respected anymore. That argument is over. Respect is on the table already, tucked beneath envy, disguised by jokes, hidden under forced indifference. That's why some people forget how to meet your eyes, and others over-explain themselves around you. Your presence tells the truth before anyone speaks. You are a mirror, not the kind that flatters, the kind that clarifies. And clarity always creates a decision point. People either step higher or step back. No in between. Think about how a smoke alarm behaves in a quiet house. It doesn't scream because it's dramatic. It goes off because something real is happening. Your energy works like that. It announces what can't be ignored. Some are grateful the moment you walk in. They feel safer, steadier, clearer. Others grow agitated because pretending becomes impossible around you. This is why careless access to you ends with consequences, not punishment, consequence. When someone treats a rare presence like it's common, life responds. Opportunities that should have bloomed suddenly wilt. Plans that looked certain start slipping. Sleep gets thin, not because you wished it on them, but because mishandling a blessing always stirs its own storm. You've seen both patterns. The ones who honored you without control, without hidden terms, found doors easing open and tension lifting. The ones who toyed with what was sacred keep discovering that the ground beneath them doesn't hold like it used to. There's a reason. You are not just a person they know. You are an assignment they answer for. Let's turn the lens back to you. Maybe you've asked, why can't I just be invisible for once? Why does my presence feel like a signal? Because you're not built for camouflage. Your frequency was never meant to blend into the wallpaper of the world. Your life carries an imprint that refuses to be reduced. You have been refined, and refinement leaves brightness on the surface and backbone underneath. You also learned a crucial distinction. You're not cold, you're careful. Those who confuse distance with ego are unfamiliar with stewardship. When you've held something holy and watched it be mishandled, you stop handing it out like confetti. That's not bitterness, that's wisdom. From now on, access to you is permission, not assumption. You don't gatekeep to feel powerful. You curate proximity because you finally understand what your presence activates. You've seen the copycats who want your glow but not your growth. You've met the performers who adopt your language but not your discipline. Let them have the costume. You'll keep the crown that was earned the long way. You are living evidence that real power doesn't need spectacle. It holds the room by being anchored. It doesn't rush to fill silences. It lets truth do its work. It doesn't retaliate. It rests in the knowledge that heaven already ruled in your favor. Imagine a museum-grade artifact in white-glove hands. The curator doesn't toss it between guests or pass it down a crowded aisle. Not because the artifact is fragile, but because it carries history, value, and responsibility. That's you. Not breakable, priceless. And priceless things teach people how to approach them. So let this truth settle into you like peace after rain. You have nothing left to prove. The proof is what happens in people when you're near. The ones ready for growth rise, the ones committed to performance crumble. Either way, your assignment stands. Breathe. You're not too much, you're right on time. Some people are realizing too late that they mishandled someone God was guarding. They're replaying moments, conversations, decisions, feeling the weight of what they touched and didn't treasure. Because proximity to a chosen one was never casual. It was covenant, and covenant broken has consequences. You were never just someone in their story. You were the divine checkpoint meant to redirect them. But instead of recognizing that, they tried to rewrite you into something small enough to control. They didn't understand that when they disrespected you, they weren't just crossing you, they were clashing with the covering over you. And the covering always wins. That's why you've seen strange reversals lately. Doors that were slammed on you are now slamming on them. The gossip they started has turned into the silence that follows conviction. The same mouths that dismissed you are learning what it feels like when heaven closes its mouth on their behalf. It's not revenge, it's restoration. It's balance being restored to the field. Because when God marks someone, He also monitors who touches them. You've been carrying a quiet protection, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself, but still rearranges outcomes. That's why plots collapse. That's why lies dissolve. That's why people who underestimated you suddenly move like they're walking on glass. They've learned that mishandling you doesn't just cost comfort, it costs alignment. But while they're learning, you're advancing, quietly, smoothly, without guilt. The time for proving is done. You're stepping into a season where proof speaks for you. The fruits of your restraint will be louder than any accusation ever was. God is about to use your composure as confirmation. You see, your strength was never the loud kind. It was the kind that outlasted storms. You didn't just survive, your survival rewrote the story. And now the reward for your endurance is unfolding in real time. You've graduated from fighting for visibility. You've entered the realm where heaven itself amplifies your name. That's why people feel you before they see you. That's why rooms adjust before you speak. It's because you've become a living signal of divine timing. Let me put this another way. When you walk into a space, truth stands up straighter. The fake can't fake as easily. The real feels relief. You are the atmosphere's accountability, and that's what makes you a threat to the unhealed. You don't expose them to embarrass them. You expose them because light can't help but reveal what's hidden. And those who truly want to grow will see your presence as mercy, not menace. This is where your story pivots, from being misunderstood to being unmistakable. You're stepping into the season of recognition, but not the shallow kind. It's not applause, it's acknowledgement. The same people who once misread your quiet as weakness will one day reference it as wisdom. And they'll know the truth. You weren't silent because you had nothing to say. You were silent because heaven was still editing the script. Now the edit is complete. The final version of your story is about to be published before eyes that once mocked the draft. So don't shrink, don't second guess. This next chapter doesn't require defense. It requires presence. You just have to keep standing in the alignment you've earned. This isn't the preview of something coming. It's the moment itself. You can feel the weight of things clicking into alignment, names being cleared, doors unlocking without noise. Heaven isn't announcing anything new. It's simply removing what once hid the truth. What's happening now isn't the beginning of your reward. It's the evidence that endurance never expires. You are about to witness people remembering what they forgot, that you were chosen not for attention, but for assignment, that your restraint was the reason heaven could trust you with results, that what you lost didn't leave. It was relocated into the version of you that could finally hold it without breaking. So take this as your confirmation. God is clearing your name without you having to speak a word. The respect you were denied is about to return multiplied. The doors that ignored you will now open automatically because of the authority you've grown into. You don't have to run after what's yours. It already has your coordinates. It's finding you as we speak, because destiny doesn't knock, it calls, and you, dear chosen one, have answered. As we close, I want to invite you to my second channel. It's filled with peaceful ambient music, created for moments when you need calm, stillness, or gentle focus. You can tap the playlist on your screen, and I'd be grateful to have you join me there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. The dust has already settled on your side. You may not have thrown a party, you may not have posted a victory lap, but the proof has begun to leak into ordinary moments. Fewer knots in your chest, fewer spirals after small inconveniences. The day still throws its curveballs, but they don't own you anymore. Your pace is calmer, your choices are cleaner, and what used to drain you now barely makes a dent. That's what early victory feels like before it becomes obvious to everyone else. People mistook your quiet season for a collapse. They saw you step away from noise and assumed you stepped out of the story. But you were rewiring behind the wall, fixing what flickered, labeling what matters, learning what to stop touching altogether. No one cheers while the power is off. Then the lights come back and the whole room makes sense again. That's where you are now. Clarity returning, piece by piece. Look at your days. The evidence hides in small things. You wake up and the first thought isn't dread. The noise in your chest is softer. The neighborhood feels less like a maze and more like a map. You choose your words in conversations and realize you're not defended, you're decided. The old trigger gets pressed and nothing launches. That's not numbness, that's strength, with a good memory and better boundaries. They thought they were watching you fall apart. What they saw was you stepping out of rooms you no longer fit. You stopped running after people who only answered when it benefited them. You stopped carrying tasks that were never yours. And the minute you set that down, your hands were free to build. Not a spectacle, but a structure. You started building a life that actually protects your peace. You plan your days better now. You say no when something drains you. You keep simple routines that keep you steady. Habits that no one will ever applaud, yet everything depends on. So many tried to study your stillness like a weakness. You learned to ignore bait. You learned to let some messages go unanswered and let some stories tell on themselves. You learned that silence is not empty. Silence is where you hear the instructions. You weren't hiding, you were listening. And what you heard changed your walk. Move slow, land heavy. Now every step you take leaves an imprint that can't be argued with. Notice what's happening around you. People who used to smirk now copy your cadence. A style you were mocked for quietly becomes the template. And look at those late nights doing something right instead of quick. Those mornings you kept your promise to yourself when nobody would have noticed if you didn't. It all stacked a steady wall. And yes, someone is replaying their part in your story in a room you'll never enter. That's fine. Your attention is expensive now. You don't spend it where returns are low. Your life has new math, Peace first, purpose next. Everything else negotiates. Maybe you've wondered, but how do I know I've really turned the corner? Listen to your body in the hallway moments, the pause before you open a difficult message, the breath at a red light, the silence after a call. The old you was a fire alarm. The you you're becoming is a thermostat. You're not reacting to every draft. You're setting the climate. Meetings don't drag you under. Deadlines don't define your worth. An interruption doesn't ruin your day. You rearrange and keep momentum. That's authority. It's not loud. It's reliable. Maybe you don't feel like you've fully stepped into it yet, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. It's only a matter of moments before you feel it in your bones. So start looking for it from now on, because it's here. You know, there was a time others were certain your story ended. They even laughed while they named the chapter final. But you kept writing. You wrote while you were tired, and the sentences were short. You wrote while your heart healed, and the punctuation shook. You wrote on days that felt like weather inside your chest. And now the paragraph turns without their permission. That uneasy quiet around you? It's not emptiness. It's the sound of a storm that missed its target. You didn't win with a speech. You won with a sequence. Choosing rest over panic. Choosing clarity over the rush. Choosing to leave the group chat instead of defending yourself in it. Choosing to pivot the plan without announcing a rebrand. Maybe it doesn't look glamorous, but it's undefeated. Think of how you move through a grocery store now. You don't wander every aisle. You know what you're here for. Distractions used to own you. Now you push past them and pay for what you came to get. That's how you move through life these days. You don't argue with shelf talkers and signs. You grab the ingredients and go cook. They called your patience weak, but when you refused the mud wrestle, you denied them their favorite trick, turning your reaction into their proof. You walked out clean. Time did the talking. Their story couldn't keep its own lies straight. Meanwhile, your work aged well. It always does when you build with clean hands. Here's what I'm saying without glitter. Whatever you adjusted, it's registering. Whatever you let go of, it's releasing space exactly where you needed room. Whatever you chose in the dark, the boundary, the better habit, the harder truth, has already begun to pay in daylight. You can stop auditioning for a role you already own. Walk like someone whose ID has been verified. And if you feel that calm in your chest and wonder if it's laziness, no, it's weight. The kind that comes from carrying real results, not hype. Hype evaporates, but weight stays. You won't need to announce a thing. Your mornings will do it for you. Your tone will do it. Your calendar will do it. Your absence from certain arguments will do it. But you and I both know even now, not every day feels easy. Some mornings you still wake up with that familiar heaviness in your mind, wondering if the strength you had yesterday will show up again today. And that's all right. It's not backsliding. It's being the real you in the middle of healing. Victory doesn't erase fatigue. It teaches you what to do with it. You've learned to keep walking with tired legs, to pray even when words stumble, to show up in small ways when big ones feel impossible. That's faith in motion. That's what God notices when no one else can. He's seen every quiet act of courage that didn't make it into your highlight reel. Every time you chose grace instead of resentment. Every time you swallowed pride and still showed love. Every time you whispered, "Help me get through today." None of that disappeared into the air. It was recorded in eternity. You might still be facing situations that don't make sense yet. The job that demands too much but pays too little. The prayer that's been hanging unanswered for what feels like forever. The relationships that test the very softness you fought to protect. And yet you're handling them differently now. You don't panic the way you used to. You pause. You ask for wisdom, not control. You breathe through it instead of breaking under it. That's the proof that transformation is real. Not when the storm ends, but when it stops scaring you. God didn't pull you through all that darkness just to drop you here half restored. He's still building you, still teaching you how to carry blessing without losing balance. You used to chase peace like it was somewhere far ahead. Now, piece by piece, He's teaching you it can live right here in ordinary hours. You've been through too much to keep doubting that divine hand on your life. Think about it. You've walked through seasons that should have taken you out completely, yet somehow something invisible kept you steady. That was him. Not the coincidence people call luck, not the universe rearranging itself. It was God, making sure the weight that tried to crush you became the very pressure that shaped you. So when the weariness creeps in, don't call it weakness. It's evidence that you've been working with God on something sacred. Every stretch, every scar, every lonely hour, it all meant something. He was teaching you how to walk through fire and not smell like smoke. You've come too far to see yourself as recovering. You're not rebuilding a broken life. You're living a refined one. The cracks didn't ruin you. They let the light in differently. And if some days still ache, it's because your spirit hasn't forgotten what it carried. But that ache has softened now. It's no longer pain, it's perspective. God saw when you stopped trying to fix everyone else. When you finally prayed, if they go, let them go. When you began to trust that subtraction was His protection, not punishment. That's when He started clearing the path. Not instantly, but intentionally. You've been walking through those adjustments without realizing you've been promoted. Some blessings don't look like open doors. They look like closed ones that don't hurt anymore. You can stand beside what used to break you and feel peace instead of panic. That's how you know you've crossed over. And maybe you still have nights where you wonder if He's forgotten your name. But if you listen closely, even in that quiet, there's movement. He's rearranging things while you sleep. He's talking to hearts connected to your destiny. He's preparing moments that will feel like finally, but they'll arrive as suddenly. That's how God works. Not with warnings, but with perfect timing. So keep walking. Keep tending to the simple. Keep doing the things that seem too small to matter, because in God's pattern, that's where miracles start. He hides glory inside discipline. He hides change inside consistency. He hides breakthrough inside ordinary obedience. And one day soon, you'll look back and realize it wasn't random at all. Every quiet yes you whispered to God became a building block. Every time you chose peace instead of payback, something eternal took root. You were sowing in silence the very harvest you're about to see unfold. So if life still feels halfway, half healed, half answered, half known, take heart. It's not halfway, it's halfway through. The same God who began the work will finish it, and He's not rushing because He wants it to last. He's not teaching you how to get blessings, He's teaching you how to keep them. That's why this calm feels heavier. It's not emptiness, it's foundation. It's the sound of a soul that finally trusts the process, even when it doesn't understand it. And when that moment comes, when things finally align in a way your spirit already sensed, remember this: it didn't happen overnight. It happened over every night you decided not to give up. Whatever you did, it worked, because you did it with God watching, and He's not done showing the world what He saw in you all along. As we close, I want to invite you to my second channel. It's filled with peaceful ambient music, created for moments when you need calm, stillness, or gentle focus. You can tap the playlist on your screen, and I'd be grateful to have you join me there.